Hello and welcome to our Shavasana Emergency. I'm Lizzie Lasater, and joining us, I'll just introduce around the video square. We have Hillary from Yoga Moves in Utrecht, and that's who I'm recording this with and for, and then it will be on YouTube a little bit later. We also have Samantha and Vice from Yoga Moves. Vies. They're here with us. They'll be behind the scenes helping with the chat. Those of you who are with us live, if you have questions as we're going, especially technical questions. One big thing to remember is you often need to update your Zoom program or restart your device. That helps if there's glitches. And we have the wonderful Georgia Lloyd, who is joining us from Sydney, Australia. She's helping me on my side, on the teaching side. She'll be assisting as we go. So you may hear her wonderful Australian accent poking through later in the class as we get into the poses. So anything from anyone on screen now before I move into the teaching? Hillary, anything to say?
Oh, I'm good. I'm ready to relax.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a great, you took the bait. I asked you, would you like to? And you said yes. And that was so sweet. I really appreciate it. In this time of COVID, I call it loving the time of Corona. You know, we have to keep this, really the benefit of this online thing is that we can bring you into our living rooms directly and quickly. And I love it. So thank you for starting this process for us off in this way.
You're welcome. All right, if those of you guys will drop off video, then everyone can see. I will expand into the space and we can get started with the teaching. So we're on live with 61 people, 55 students. We asked before we turned on the recording, people are joining us from around the Netherlands and in Germany. I'm in Salzburg, Austria. And as Hillary said, it's just a wonderful experience to join you all, to be here with you all, sitting in my living room. So I'll start with a little bit of a discussion or conversation about Shavasana. The title of this time together is called a Shavasana Emergency. So the background that many of us know is, of course, that we are in the time of the coronavirus. We have receded into a retreat mode, a very intense householder mode for many of us if we're home with children, spouses who are maybe not leaving as much as we're used to, partners, roommates. So that's why I wanted to call this a Shavasana Emergency, because there is a sense right now for many of us. Emergency is a very strong word, it's a catchy word, but there's the sense of a strange and urgent time that we're going through. Who's on live, just say yes if you're identifying with that, if you're feeling as though it's a strange and urgent time for you. Hillary, I'm just going to pop off your video.
Yeah, something's going on with my video. I hear it.
All right, I think I can stop it. Great. Okay, and then let me see the chat, what people are saying. Yes, people are saying. They're identifying with this as a kind of strange and urgent time. So I often call Shavasana yoga's most powerful pose because we come to yoga, many of us, I know I did, for movement and strength and flow, maybe even breath, some of us. But in my life, in my experience, in my practice, handstand has not changed my life as much as Shavasana. So Shavasana is a pose we do in almost every yoga class, lying down on the floor. It's often taught without props, as a sort of 5-minute repose or a rest, or a chance to integrate after the asana practice. But today I'm going to focus on a restorative yoga version of Shavasana. So who has done a restorative yoga class before, either with me or maybe at Yoga Moves? Who has had, give me a yes or a no. Just let me know, those of you who are with us. Hi, Biddy. It's great to see you. Yes, exclamation point. Yes, yes, yes. Give me a no if you've never done restorative as well. I'd just like to get a sense. I see one no. Yes, yes. So most yeses. Okay. I'm going to review just the definition of restorative yoga as I take it from my mom, Judith Hanson Lasater, who I like to call a restorative yoga pioneer. She didn't invent restorative yoga. She learned a lot of these poses from her teacher, BKS Iyengar, but she really was an early adopter in drawing a circle around this group of poses and saying they have value as a standalone practice. They have a healing power for us. So the definition of restorative yoga, looking over at my notes, is the use of props to support the body in positions of comfort and ease to facilitate relaxation and health. The use of props to support the body in positions of comfort and ease to facilitate relaxation and health. So that's what we're looking for today. The props themselves are not important. I have all of the proper yoga props behind me, but many of you don't at home, and that's completely fine. The props themselves are not the magic. It's the position of the body that we're after. So now might be a nice moment to begin. As I'm speaking, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction now. There'll be a little bit of time for questions, and then we'll move to the mat. So as I'm talking, you might want to start assembling things that you have in your space, in your apartment, in your home. The kind of things that you're going to need. We will probably use a wall today. So you might want to find a wall that doesn't have a lot of paintings on it, so you can put your feet on it. We're going to need a chair. I have a proper yoga chair behind me, but you can use a dining room chair, something that's stable. We would love to have a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, that's no problem. You can roll some blankets around a yoga mat. You can take a rolled up yoga mat. It makes kind of a firm core, and roll blankets around it to make the shape of a bolster, a round object that's going to support your knees in this case. You're going to need something to cover your eyes. So you can use a soft scarf. You can use a clean sock. You can use an eye bag if you have a yoga eye bag. And then you're going to need as many blankets as you can find. Blankets from the couch, blankets from the bed. The firmer the better. So not fluffy down comforters, but more blankets, wool blankets, blankets that you can fold. And then some pillows. We're going to use a couple pillows. The best ones today are going to be more like couch pillows. Let me grab this one. You know, this scale. Not bed pillows, but you can use bed pillows in a pinch. Okay, any questions about the props as you're assembling them? Anybody have a prop emergency? Anybody stranded on a desert island right now, not having any blankets or pillows? Okay, the chat is quiet, so I'm taking that as a good sign. So the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is the theme of what I want to share with us today for this class. So the theme that I want to work on today is letting go into your strength. We think of, well, let me back up. Letting go is one of the ultimate lessons that we can learn from yoga. That is, I think, one of the ultimate lessons that we can learn from this incarnation or this lifetime. And in fact, I've heard it said before that letting go is really the only thing or the last thing that we need to learn before we leave our bodies. So yoga as a modality in all of its forms, not just asana, but yoga acts as a guide that can help us learn how to let go. And we often confuse letting go with collapsing or giving up. But letting go has, for me, an intention. And it gives us some sense of choice in the moment. So when confronted by situations that we may not have chosen right now in our coronavirus life, there are many things imposed on us from the outside. Our daily rhythms have changed. Who we're spending our time with has changed. The children being around constantly maybe has changed. So we don't have a lot of choice about that right now. But what we learn from our practice of yoga, all of you who have been practicing for years and years, we've probably been practicing for hundreds of years, all of us together here on the call, the 62 of us that are gathered here today. So the idea that we can choose our reaction to the situation we are presented with, that is a profound teaching of yoga. And in a very simplistic sense, we can choose to either resist or what I'm calling let go, surrender. And the hypothesis or the idea that I'm offering today as a theme or a guiding idea for our practice is that when I say that we're letting go into your strength, into our strength, or I'm letting go into my strength, it's the hypothesis is that through choosing to let go, I'm going to find a deeper, more profound, more primal, we could say, sense of strength. It's not that the only source of my strength is by resisting, by fighting, by pushing, but that it is in fact a great power to let go, to surrender, to step back, to melt in. Yes? Give me a yes, a maybe, a no if you're feeling this or hearing this or connecting with this. I'm seeing some yeses coming through. Yes, yes, yeah, okay. Thank you, Paula. Hi, it's great to see you, that you're with us. OMG, yes, says Emmy. Okay, so that's really the ground or the idea behind the choice to move into restorative yoga at this time. Not only do we need, I know I've been needing a kind of parasympathetic nervous system tune-up or infusion, like an IV infusion we get of vitamins and fluids. I've been needing a tune-up or an infusion for my parasympathetic nervous system in this time, this heightened time of anxiety. There's a lot of financial stress, of course, we should mention. Many of us are going through the fear, especially as yoga teachers, yoga studio owners, canceled classes, lost revenue, disruption. So in the Ayurveda, which is the medical science that is very close to yoga in the Indian pantheon, Ayurveda talks about, some of you know, Pitta, Vata, and Kapha, the doshas. What's going on right now is incredibly Vata deranging or disturbing because everything is in limbo. We don't even know. I was just saying before we turned on the recording, you know, I've made an appointment to get my hair cut in May, but I don't know if I'm even going to be able to go. We're all juggling things, plans for the summer. Is June going to happen? Is July going to happen? Is this trip? Is this teaching? Is this vacation? We don't know. And that's incredibly stimulating to our Vata, which is our nervous system. But in a strange way, because we're all sort of trapped at home or in a much more, well, those of us who are not on the front lines, of course, those of us who are not out there delivering packages or healthcare. But for the majority of us who are at home, it's very kapha stimulating because it's quite stagnant. So it's a very strange time energetically, I think. And many of us feel like I don't know, give me a yes if you've been feeling like you haven't been moving your body as much as you would like right now because you have been, confined at home. You're not maybe biking as much. All of our Dutch yogis, you're not commuting. Many of you I know bike to work or bike to pick up your kids all the time. All of that, it's a struggle. Dewey is saying, yes, very recognizable. So we're moving less and we're spending more time on the couch, more time sitting, more sedentary. So we have I think many of us, an intuition that, well, we don't need restorative yoga because I've been watching a lot of Netflix, so I don't need to relax. Aren't I just relaxed enough? I'm constantly in my pajamas. But the difference with restorative yoga is that it's different than watching Netflix, which is an important part of being a modern human during a pandemic. I'm not knocking it, but restorative yoga is different, again, as I mentioned before, with letting go because of our intention. So this is the last thing I have planned to say, and then I'll take questions if there are any, and then we'll move on to the mat. But what's different about the practice of restorative yoga is our intention as we're in the pose. So we're going to move into positions that are still quiet, dark, and warm. We're going to move into the cave of our being. And I have 3 steps I'd like to offer for you today as a kind of plan. These are the 3 things that I suggest you do while you're in the pose. So the body won't be moving. The body will move into a state of stillness. But what I'd like you to do with your mind, your attention, your awareness, I have 3 steps for you. All right. So step number 1 is that I'd like you to watch your breath. So when you move into the pose, you get still, you get comfortable. Remember, practice of comfort and ease. When you get still and comfortable, number 1, I'd like you to watch your breath. Okay? Number 2, move your intention, your attention inward. So watch the breath. Number 2, go inward. Bring all of your focus inside, interoception, what's going on in the body. That's number 2. And number 3 is to become aware of where tension is being held in your body and invite it to release. Ever so gently. Sometimes my mom says to look at the tension with soft eyes, the way you might look at a child. So it's not demanding that the tension let goes. It's not even you're not doing anything. I'm not even saying let go of the tension. I'm saying invite the tension to release. Okay? So those are our 3 steps. Watch the breath, go inward. This is pratyahara. Some of you who know that Sanskrit word. Number 3, become aware of where tension is and invite it to release. So that's a kind of cyclical process that happens as we're in the pose. And when we find ourselves thinking, which we inevitably do, I was on a webinar last night with 200 people from our pranayama intensive course that's running right now, our online course. And I asked my mom the question of like, what I'm supposed to do when I'm doing my pranayama practice. And she was talking very loftily about how sometimes we get these insights and it's fine to have a notebook with you when you practice so you can write down the things that you're thinking of. And, I have 2 7-month-old baby boys. And so I was saying to my mom, yeah, when I do my pranayama practice these days, like the insights that I get are, I need to refill number 4 diapers in the diaper bag. That was my big insight yesterday. So when that happens to you, the mundane or the sublime, whatever insights or thoughts or thinking that come up while you're in the poses with us today, like in many meditation practices, the idea is just to bring yourself back to the breath and then start this 3-part process again. Return to the breath, move inward, and then identify the tension and invite it to release. Okay, does that make sense? Can I get a yes or a no if you're with me on the 3-part process? Love it, says Biddy. Kari, yes, 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 yes. Okay. So, can't wait. Okay, we're going to start. So any questions now before we start? I just want to give us 1 minute to breathe, to slow down and make sure everyone is with us. Hi, Marline. So people are with us sort of pace-wise. Everybody's sorted. We're ready to go. Any questions about the content of what I just spoke about, or questions about what's about to happen? I am open. Vanessa says she has a back problem. Okay. So can you be a little bit more specific, or if you're willing to share, Vanessa? A hernia. Okay. So we never want in any restorative pose for you to feel discomfort or pain. Because you're not in front of me and because I'm not a doctor and I don't know everyone's diagnosis, but I can't speak to specific problems. But one thing we know about hernias is that often forward bending, moving forward, creates the pain or creates more discomfort because it pushes the herniated disc towards the nerve in the spine. Is that the case for you, Vanessa? So often we say with herniated discs in yoga to be so be very careful, gentle with the forward bending. We're ironically, of course, we're going to start with 2 short forward bends. So I want you to back off, do less, or take a completely different pose, Vanessa, if it's not appropriate for you. If it's causing discomfort or pain, I'd like you to just lie down on your back, bend your knees, let your knees come together, and you can breathe with us and be in the pose. So that goes for Vanessa. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Okay. Exclamation point. Good. So, and for anyone else, of course, modify as needed. Take care of yourself. You can always come out. You can always do less. In restorative yoga, we have this concept of amplitude, which is I know the word in Dutch I've asked a million times when I'm teaching at Yoga Moves. I think it's like amplitude or something. It's almost the same word. So it's the scale of the intensity. So you can always back off and do less. Okay. So I'm going to turn on my wider view camera so you can see me on the mat. And I'm moving away from the chat. So Georgia is with us from Sydney, Australia, and Georgia will maybe jump in on audio if we need. She'll read me any questions that are coming through that are important. And Georgia will also be doing our timing for us. Okay? Okay, give me 1 moment to just turn on this camera. Start video. Okay, good. And I'll pause this camera so it'll be bigger. Stop video. Okay. So, can you hear me? Can you see me over here now? Georgia?
We can see you.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to start with a chair. And I think it's nice to put a blanket on top of your chair for padding. And then I have this little ball that I love. I know nobody has this at their house. It's from the Yoga Tune-Up line. It's like a deflated ball, but I like to sit on that. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just thinking on the fly. I'm going to take off my yoga mat because my tights are so dark, so you can see a little better. And I like to sit on this. You can also use a blanket, a folded blanket. This just what it does is it tips the pelvis a tiny bit forward, which is going to help move us into a neutral spine. Okay? So I'm suggesting either a simple cross-legged position, or you may like to take Baddha konasana, but only Baddha konasana if it feels really comfortable and easy for you, and it's not a big amount of stretch on the inner thighs. So if you're feeling a lot of information from the inner thighs, then just cross your legs, okay? And we're going to start now. The chair is in front of you. Inhale. Exhaling, round yourself very gently forward onto the chair and bring the arms up and over so that they rest. And you're breathing now into your back body. Step 1, become aware of the breath. Become aware of the breath here along the curve of your back body. A few more breaths here. And gently begin to press yourself up to sitting. So interlace your fingers now and extend them up above the head. I'm going to turn just to face the camera a little bit more. Press your palms up. Finding length here in the lower belly. So seeing if you can feel the lengthening between the belly button and the pubic bone. Way down there. Lifting up. And now gently release the hands open here into Prana Mudra. As if you're collecting the energy of the sunlight like a plant growing up towards the sky. And with an exhalation, gathering that energy above the crown of the head, the palms together, and exhaling down past the third eye, the mouth, to the heart. Keeping going with that movement, bring the fingertips all the way down to the floor and bow the head. And now inhaling, turn the backs of the fingers to touch each other. So curling the palms is like a reverse namaste. The hands come up here. And we come back to where we started. Inhaling, we open here. And exhale. So this is a mudra vinyasa. Exhaling, fingertips and bow. A few more rounds like this, inhaling. And exhaling. We're just doing a few very simple movements to prepare ourselves for the practice. Inhale. And I see a couple comments flashing on the screen. Georgia will let me know if there's anything important I need to attend to. Exhale. Inhale. Open up last time. And exhale, gathering that energy and bringing it down into the heart. And we're going to take one more forward bend. Vanessa, hopefully you're modifying. or as I mentioned, you can just lie down on your back and bend your knees. So if you were in Baddha konasana, the soles of the feet together, it's nice this time to take Upavistha, open very gently, not super wide. Again, only if you can do it without feeling a ton on the inner thighs. Otherwise, if you were in a simple cross-legged position, now you're going to just cross the other way, the funny way. Open the legs. Okay. So as we come forward into this very restorative forward bend with the chair, I don't want you to come forward with a back bend mentality. Inhale. Exhale, we're going to soften and round forward. The forehead makes contact with the chair and we take a hold of the elbows. Again, breathing into the back body here. Let's take 3 more breaths. And gently rising up, blinking your eyes open. You might want to close your legs. And we'll extend one more time. Interlace the fingers to the second leg. Reach up. Finding length in that low belly. Feel your shoulder blades fly up. Let the shoulder blades move up towards the hands. And gently letting go of the fingers, opening up to Prana Mudra. So whatever it is that you are longing for or looking for, say it silently to yourself now. I am ready to receive grace. Whatever your word is for today. And feel yourself gathering that up as a gift from the universe, exhaling palms together. We draw it down the central channel. Fingertips touch the floor, bow. Last few rounds. Turn the fingertips and back up, inhaling and exhaling. A few more times like this. And exhale. Last time, inhale. Receiving, exhaling, letting go. Palms land at the heart. Okay, so that simple moving mudra vinyasa acts as a very gentle pranayama. It's almost a samavriti, long, slow inhale, long, slow exhale. It begins to turn our attention, our intention, towards our restorative practice. So now we're going to do a simple back bend. Vanessa, this should be great for you with your herniated disc. It's called one blanket back bend. Those of you who have studied with me before know it very well. So if you have a yoga blanket, you're going to fold it into this shape. I'll come a little bit closer. So from here, the bigger shape, you're going to fold it in half. We'll use that. I'm going to put my chair away. If you don't have a proper yoga blanket, it's no problem. You can use a pillow from your couch. So I will demonstrate the yoga blanket first, and then I'll show with the pillow. So you're going to sit in front of your prop, whatever you're using. Let me pop this in my basket. Okay, so you're sitting in front of your prop, and you're going to roll yourself back onto your back. You want to have your eye cover nearby. So once you get down there, you might not want to come back up. So you're going to roll yourself down, and you're looking for the lower tips of your shoulder blades, the inferior angle of the scapula, to be right on the edge here. I'm going to take off my jangly necklaces. And now the knees are going to come together and the arms are going to spread. Okay, it's a very gentle back bend. Almost imperceptible as we begin. So the blanket version is like this. I'm going to show the pillow version. And you may like to have a second blanket nearby that you can put over your legs. Gives a little bit of weight and a little bit of warmth. So the pillow, again, you're not sitting on it, you're sitting in front of it. And then depending exactly on the size of your pillow, come down onto your elbows, roll yourself all the way back, and then you may have to adjust so your shoulder blades get situated. Oh. Okay, so I've got an eye bag here, but again, you can use a scarf, whatever you have. Okay, get your hair out of the way. And what I like to do is take my hands onto the back of the skull and lengthen very gently the skull away from the spine and set my head down carefully. All right, so taking the eye bag. Georgia, would you give us a timer, please, for 5 minutes? So if you're feeling vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, you may like to keep your hands here on the bottom ribs, the sense of comforting yourself. Or you may like to spread the arms wide. I like to come onto the pinky side of the hand. And that roll comes not from the wrist, but from the shoulder joint. So roll the entire arm. Soften the chin. And soften the belly. Exactly that place that we felt when we were stretching our arms overhead. The space between the belly button and the pubic bone. Let that become soft now. And we move into our 3-step process. Find the breath. Turn your attention inward. And notice any tension and invite it to release. So I'll give you a few minutes of silence now, and then Georgia will ring the bells for us when it's time to come out. Take a long, slow, deep inhalation. And exhaling. Do nothing. Inhale once again. And exhale. Gently, slightly flex your pelvis, pressing your belly button towards the floor, and roll yourself to the side. Pause here. And press yourself up to sitting. No need to open your eyes yet if you're not there. So I'd like you to think of one word, maybe a sensation or an emotion, one word of how you felt while you were in the pose. And type that into the chat for us. Georgia, if you would be so kind to read what people are saying. I felt expansive.
We have open, softness, still, thankful, energy, relief, spacious, tired, release.
So good.
And love.
Okay. So we're going to move now into an inversion, a gentle inversion. This is not appropriate for you if you're pregnant. I don't teach inverting at all during pregnancy. I didn't go upside down my whole pregnancy, more than dog pose. If you're on your period, I would leave this out, especially if it's the first 3 days. If you have anything going on with your eyes, if you have a cold in your nose, if you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, then I would not recommend doing the inversion that I'm going to show. I have a variation which I will offer you. So assemble all of your blankets and your bolster if you have it. I'm going to use the wall behind me. So let me pop this over here. I'm also going to use 2 small pillows. These are a little bit thinner than that blue pillow I was using. So if you've got 2 little throw pillows from the couch, they can feel really nice under your hands in this pose. So we're going to do Viparita karani, which starts with a bolster near the wall, not touching the wall, but near the wall. I would say, I'm bad with metric, maybe 20 centimeters from the wall. A little bit further than this is the blank space between my bolster and the wall. So once again, if you didn't have a bolster, you could take blankets.
Hey Lizzie, do you think you could just speak up slightly?
Yes, and you know what I'm going to do? I think if I switch my mic onto one different mode, it'll be a little bit better. Okay, so is this better? Hopefully.
Yeah, it's good so far.
Okay, so it feels so funny to shout about restorative yoga, but you're right. I need to use my yoga teaching voice. So you can take a blanket and you can do like a zigzag. So this would be 3 times. It doesn't have to be as high as the bolster, but a little lift under the pelvis in this pose feels amazing. So you can also take a blanket, fold it, and then roll it. And then I would roll at least 1 more blanket around this, and that can approximate a bolster if you don't have one. So then it's really nice to take a second blanket and put it lengthwise for your spine. So you don't want it too wide. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see people do, is they end up folding their blanket like something like this, so it ends up quite wide. What I want here is something more long and thin, so that my shoulders are going to land on either side, and there's going to be a very gentle arch here. Actually kind of similar to what we just did with the 1 blanket back bend, that very small degree of arching over the blanket. So we've got something like this. We have something to elevate the pelvis. Our eye cover is nearby. And I would suggest you take a blanket for your feet against the wall. Now, if this is not appropriate for you because of the things I mentioned a couple minutes ago, then what you can do is you can take the chair we used at the beginning, and you can do the same pose without a wall with the chair. And you can either simply, I would put a blanket on the chair just for padding so it's more comfortable. You can just put your, let me scoot a little bit into the camera view. You can put your knees up on the chair and lie down flat onto the floor, or you can elevate your pelvis a little bit by folding a blanket in front of the chair, sitting on that, putting the knees up, and then lying back. So these would be two sort of more gentle or simpler variations that aren't as strong of an inversion. I'm going to demonstrate the one at the wall. So we have a blanket ready for our feet. We have our eye cover. We have a blanket here for the spine. Let me put the chair out of view. And we have our eye bag. Okay? So you're going to kneel next to your bolster, and you can roll yourself up, and the feet come up the wall. Viparita karani. So my heels are on the wall, my pelvis is elevated here, and notice my legs are not vertical. Here's where they would be if they're vertical. They're leaned against the wall slightly because my bolster is moved away from the wall. Then I take this blanket, bend the knees, put this around the feet, wrap it, and then put the heels back onto the wall. Inversions are extremely powerful signals to your nervous system to move into parasympathetic dominance. So these two little side pillows now are to support the wrists. Just the wrists, not the elbows. You're just going to open your hands here so that the wrists can move ever so slightly into flexion. Are there any questions, Georgia, for me?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So if you would give us a 10-minute timer. Find your eye bag, your eye cover. Once again, you may enjoy lengthening your skull away from your body slightly. The shoulders are coming down towards the floor. Open the arms. If at any time your feet start to tingle or the backs of your knees start to ache or you feel uncomfortable in any way, you're going to bend your knees and roll yourself down, or just bend your knees and move the bolster out. You can come down at any time. We're going to stay for a few minutes together in silence. Letting the magic of the inversion work its way through our nervous system. Bringing back that 3-part process. Starts with the breath, moving our attention inward, and then inviting any tension that we feel to release. Slowly come back to the surface. Bring your hands in towards your body. Letting them rest for a couple breaths on your lower ribs. And now bend your knees and let them slide down the wall, moving towards your chest. Pausing here, this pressure is really good for the belly organs, for digestion. A little bit of pressure there between the thighs and the belly. And now you can either move away from the wall towards your head, sliding off the bolster, or you can roll to the side, finding your way slowly back up to sitting. Okay, I'm gonna come up to the computer. So I'd love once again for you to close your eyes, turn your attention inside, and find a single word for how you felt in the pose or how you feel now, and type it in for us. Supported, gratitude, centered. Whole, oh, I like that word. Surrender, grounded. Very soft, relaxed like a baby, harmonious, complete. Okay. So, yoga moves, ladies. I'm looking at the clock with my restorative yoga brain. Am I doing the math correctly that we have about 25 minutes left together? Before, yes. Okay, thank you, Samantha. Okay, we're going to move to Shavasana now, yoga's most powerful pose. We have prepared our nervous system to receive Shavasana. And I'm going to switch back to the other camera and show the setup, doing a stripped down, simpler version today, so you can build the setup with what you have at home. Ellen is saying she felt somewhat impatient, but also relaxing. Yes, impatience is a very human emotion, and it's very normal to experience that in restorative yoga. It's also why I like to sequence shorter poses, and then the Shavasana will be our longest pose. So each of the earlier poses, starting from that very first forward bend on the chair that we did, are rehearsals that are getting us ready to move into the Shavasana state of mind, state of body, mind. All right, any last urgent questions or comments before we move into Shavasana? I'm seeing an empty chat, which is wonderful. Okay, I will pause this video and move back over here. So, again, you might want to use a bigger pillow here for your head. You're going to need your eye cover. These hand pillows you are going to want on either side for your hands here. I find it's a small detail that really adds to the restorative poses is supporting the wrist. Then a bolster for your knees or your bolster equivalent, your yoga mat rolled in blankets, what have you. And then I'm not going to need this blanket, but you will need one blanket for covering yourself up. I'm going to take this soft one. You're going to need a blanket just for warmth, so it's cozy, to make the pose a little bit more cozy. Okay, so we're going to sit with our feet together and the knees supported by the bolster. The knees are open. This echoes the very first pose that we did at the beginning of class, the Baddha konasana with the forehead on the chair. So you want to make sure that the backs of the knees are really supported here. Snuggle the prop underneath. And while you're sitting now, I suggest you cover yourself up. So you get this ready. And it can feel good, depending on the height of your bolster, your support, it can feel good to tuck this blanket a little bit underneath the backs of the lower legs so that it supports underneath there. All right, get your blanket ready. The hand pillows are on the side. And now I'm going to roll myself down and pause here on your elbows and lengthen away from your pelvis. So you want to move your rib cage away from your pelvis as you continue to roll down onto the floor. So you lengthen that space. Now, this pillow that I'm using for my head, I have turned it. I'm not using it this way. I've turned the point down towards my head. So the point now comes all the way under, all the way down towards my shoulder blades. It's really quite far under there, further than you think. And then these 2 points that are now on the side, I tuck them in. So those of you who have done my restorative training will recognize this. We often do a more complicated version of this with a yoga blanket that requires a 30-hour training to learn how to fold the blanket. But this is a more simple version that you can use when you're traveling or when you're on quarantine because of the coronavirus and practicing at home.
Lizzie, just to clarify, there's nothing under your back right now, is there?
There's nothing under my back. In fact, as I come down, when I came down onto the elbows, I'd like you to try to press your lumbar spine down. It will naturally come back up, but that process of lengthening, you want to create contact with the floor and your torso. Okay. So now we apply the eye bag. Georgia is going to set a timer for us for 20 minutes. But don't tell anybody that it's 20 minutes, okay? So those of you who are practicing, pretend you didn't hear that. For some of us, that number feels like a long time and we may feel anxious, what we're going to do with so long. But as we move into a restorative practice, we often try to cultivate a sense of spaciousness with time, which is a sensation that is rare in our busy daily lives. Letting go of your control or relationship with time right now. Just trusting the pose to act on you. Let yourself receive the pose. Letting go into your strength. Last few adjustments of your clothing or your jewelry or your hair until you're ready to place your hands on their pillows. Soften the chin. Letting go into your strength. So for the next few minutes, there's nothing to do. Your work or your focus in the time of Shavasana is simply on letting go and knowing that this is in fact a courageous act. And that when we soften and let go, we often find underneath a sense of strength. Gently turn your attention to your breath. Swallow. And go to the very root of your tongue here. Right where the tongue starts. And see if you can soften there. See if you're holding some tension there. And now I'll give us some silence to enjoy the pose. And Georgia will ring the bells and bring us home at the end. Shavasana. Deepen your next inhalation. And exhaling. Empty the lungs. Bring your hands back towards your body. And turn the soles of your feet down towards the floor, bending your knees. Press your lower back down towards the floor as you roll yourself to the side. Moving as slowly as you need. As we gently transition back to the vertical line, find a comfortable cross-legged position. I'm going to come up to the computer. Pause this video. Comfortable cross-legged position, close your eyes. Inhaling the breath, open the palms away from the body. With an exhalation, bring them together in front of the heart. Namaste. May we live like the lotus, at home in the muddy water. Thank you so much. Thank you for practicing with me today. It was such a pleasure to be here with you all. I want to say a big thank you to Hillary from Yoga Moves in Utrecht, whose idea this was, who invited me to come teach. Thank you to Samantha and Vies for being here. And a big thank you to Georgia Lloyd in Australia for helping me today. Paula, Biddy, Marline, thank you so much. Sending lots of love. Bye, everyone. Mwah. Bye.